when they are consuming your minds and your thoughts and your dreams, from the angels to the demons and to the mysteries unseen, there is no need to worry. There is no need for dread. It's just time to discuss the thing at the foot of the bed.
Good evening, and if you're just tuning in, you are listening to UFO, Paranormal, and United Public Radio Network, as we like to call it, UPRN, on 105.3 FM out of Mississippi and 107.7 out of New Orleans, Louisiana, to the thing at the foot of the bed. And happy July the 4th to all our brothers and sisters who are celebrating in the U.S. I'm Canadian, so we just had Canada Day, July the 1st. A little bit about myself, and then hello, Contessa Martins. Then I'm going to pass my amazing friend and co-host David Hanzel over for the few things he always shares. So I am a Canadian psychic medium, crystal Reiki energy healer, Akashic Records practitioner, spiritual teacher and mentor, registered nurse, budding animal communicator, well-versed in near-death experiences, having had one as a toddler and studied them professionally and personally for over 40 years. And well-versed in the paranormal. I always said we never went looking for the paranormal. It found us. And we shared our story on the Travel Channel's Paranormal Survivor, Season 4, Episode 9. And welcome to The Thing at the Foot of the Bed. I'm also a host of my own show on Monday nights called The Angel Rock right here on UPRN from 6 to 8 p.m. I will try to remember to mention at the end of the show, but this is a returning guest I'm having on Monday night. Her name is Sonia Roy, and a lot of you were looking forward to this. She's written a book about narcissists and narcissism, so we are going to be talking about that. So mark that down in your books if you guys want to catch that. There's always a replay though. If you guys like what you see, please like, share, and subscribe. This network's been around for 25 plus years. We stream multiple shows daily, 7 days a week. And when we're not streaming live, the archive server randomly kicks in and picks shows over the last 25 plus years. I believe we're up to almost 40 hosts on the networks now, and we're always adding new shows. So there really is something for everyone here. If you guys would like to watch on TV, what you can do, we do have our own TV channel on Roku. You're going to go to the channel store, type in UFO space P as in paranormal. There's a drop down list. It'll show up. We're the third or fourth one down, and you're looking for UFO space paranormal and United Public Radio. And most of the hosts and shows play their live shows on there, so you can check it out. What else? Oh, I know what I want to say to you guys. I always forget something. I have a little checkoff list now. If you guys want to join in the conversation, 80% of our listening audience or our audience is a listening audience, and we do broadcast in every country around the world with UPRN. So we have people that pop in though and join the conversation. And if you've been here before into the Angel Rock, you know both of these shows are very audience participative. You guys help us with this show, especially this show. We talk about what you guys want to talk about, the spooky things. So where you can go to is UFO, Paranormal, and United Public Radio Network on Facebook and YouTube. David, my co-host, is streaming to his YouTube channel, The Spirit Experience. And I believe you said you're streaming to your regular profile or page?
My regular profile. It's David Hanzel, Spiritual Medium.
Okay, so on Dave's, he switched it up tonight. We're seeing how that works. So we're switching a few things up in here and there. See, we want to pull in as many people as we can to join us, and the more the merrier. Also, we're streaming on Canada's Most Haunted. I am streaming on the Angel Rock on Instagram. They don't integrate the comments with the rest of the places we stream, so I will try and pop back and forth to say hello to everybody over there. But come join us for the conversation. We'd love to have your feedback and your ideas. I think that's everything. Finally, David, tried to do it as quick as possible.
Well, it is okay. So everybody, my name is David Hanzel. I am a spiritual medium and a channel, and I'm also a near-death survivor, a near-deather. I guess some of them call us near-deather. NDE. Yeah, NDE. That's it. I'm an NDE. My NDE back in 2015, so it's pretty well still kind of fresh in my head. And I've been a channel for about close to 8 years now. And that is about it. Other than that,
our group.
oh yeah, that's right. I always forget that. So anybody's watching or listening right now, we also have a group on Facebook, and it is called The Spirit Experience with Lorilei Potvin and David Hanzel. And it's a private group. You can go ahead and join that group, and you can see any videos that we play during our show. Lorilei puts in our group usually, and also just interesting things about paranormal stuff and fun stuff and cryptids and all kinds of whatever we have, and we have the experience, and we usually put it out there. You can also put your stuff in there as well. So if you have any stories or experiences you want to share, please go into the group. And once it's a new group, a newer group. Once we get up to 200, Lorilei and I will be going live in there once in a while to do some card reads and do some psychic stuff in there. It'll be lots of fun. So I hope you guys will join us there. Hello, Jennifer M. Happy Thursday. And hello, Contessa. Happy 4th of July to everybody listening in the States. I hope you're having a wonderful and safe 4th of July. It is very quiet in my town. It's very odd.
It was here too, because there was a lot of fireworks going off on Sunday night because Canada Day is Monday. And I thought for sure there was going to be, like, normally they're going till 2 or 3 in the morning. No, like there was a big, actually, I forgot to tell you this. I streamed it live, the fireworks. You could just see them through the trees. There's a little housing development about 5 minutes away, and they always do their own fireworks. There was something in the sky. Now, it was really high up, so I don't think it was a drone. But if the fireworks through the trees, and you could kind of see them over the trees, so say the trees were kind of off on an angle, it would have been about 10 o'clock, and this thing kept flashing from green to red. It was way too high to be a radar tower or something. Then it started to move. And then just before the fireworks ended, you seen it just drop and disappear. And it's caught in the live video. I don't know what it was. Because I was telling my partner Dell about it, because I did see a police car. We have a school down the street from us, and a police car was there because people usually shoot fireworks off in the schoolyard. And as soon as the police car showed up, everybody got out of there. So it was way too high up to be a drone. So I don't know what it was, but it was.
That's kind of cool. I need to start where I live, and I'm in North Carolina. If anybody else was in North Carolina, I'm in North Carolina, and I'm in a small town, well outside of Charlotte, but it's Kings Mountain. I don't want to just tell everybody exactly where I live, but it's in Kings Mountain, and on my back porch, my whole yard is covered in a forest, except right in the middle, it's all open. So I got a nice clear view to the sky, and I want to get a telescope just so I can look while I'm out there. So if anybody out there knows about telescopes, I am trying to figure out what kind of small telescope I can get so I can just kind of see stuff, not professionally or anything, just kind of something cool that I can use, because I know there's a lot of stuff out here. I was trying to look up there's like a lot of lore about stuff in North Carolina.
I would just want to pop in quick. I'm over on Instagram. A former Angel Rock guest was over here. So I want to say hi to Dr. Frederick Woodard. I see he dropped in over here. So if you're still there, I see you, and we're glad you joined us. Hello, Ruth Kleber. Good evening, Lorilei and David. It is, now we got Kathleen Hanley Little. She's here. Everybody's filing in finally. We got our regular crew that shows up, and it's been quiet. And I thought, maybe everybody's out having a good time. We got Diane Brighton says, hi, Lorilei. Hi, David. So that would be kind of cool. Well, you know why I look up in the sky is I have a good friend, Augie Nost. He has Broadcast Team Alpha, and he does something called the Mastermind on Sundays. It's free. Mondays and Wednesdays, it's through Patreon. It's a paid thing, but they teach you all kinds of stuff. Anyways, people from all over the world join in. I used to go every Sunday, and the first hour we would spend maybe focusing energy on healing, or say there was a bad storm coming somewhere, or teaching, or whatever it might be. But the second hour we would spend trying to connect to extraterrestrials from a positive nature. And I always remember what Augie had said in one of these. It just stuck with me. He said 90% at least of the human population does not look up in the sky. And we don't. We don't. We really don't think to do it.
A lot of people probably never do. That's something I did as a kid. I'm always looking up in the sky.
Well, as kids, I think we did, right? Like you'd lay on your back and you and your group of friends, or I know we did anyways, and watch clouds go by and that looks like a dinosaur and that looks like a bird. But we don't think about, like last night at 3 a.m., I was watching something. Now I'm thinking it might have been clouds because it was pretty dark. And it looked like it was one of the dippers, I think the bigger dipper. But it almost looked like one, because they were perfectly aligned. And then it kind of seemed like one was moving off a little bit. It was strange. I didn't film it, but I don't know if it was the clouds or what, but it was pretty strange. It was about 3 a.m. Mm-hmm.
I grew up in New Berlin, Wisconsin. And my best friend throughout all those years, her name is Carrie. She's still my best friend. We still always talk. She still lives in Wisconsin. And when we were younger, we used to go in her backyard. She lived in this place. It was off Coffee Road, I think it was called, but it was all open. Everything is open in Wisconsin where she was. There was no contamination for lights or anything. We used to sit out at her picnic table at night and look up in the skies. And we used to listen to Led Zeppelin a lot.
Ooh,
we would crank up Led Zeppelin and we would just look up in the skies and go, take us. Somebody take us, please. We don't like it here.
Speaking of E.T., I have Baby Yoda on my Grogu on my shirt. This is actually, believe it or not, I can't believe it fit. I bought this in the little boys department. Like not the men's department, the little boys department.
I am no longer able to fit in a little boys department. No? Yeah, not me.
Well, my partner Dell got these sweatpants. They're really cool. They had skulls on them. And he goes, oh, I forgot. Yeah, I'm wearing shorts till Canadian Thanksgiving. Him and his best friend do that. So he goes, do you think these might fit you? I said, like, you make me feel like I'm a house. Of course they fit me. They were big on me.
Oh, yeah. It's funny, when you think about UFOs and stuff like that, it's like in certain parts of the world, like you never really think about like in cold parts of the world or warm parts of the world, because now I heard fireworks for one. I think I told you that story before. Me and a friend of mine were in really into the deep woods in Wisconsin where there's like, cannibal people. No, not really, but it was like, it's very scary, houses were like 10 miles apart and we were driving it was a snowstorm and we were leaving a friend's house. We were going back to the cabin, which by the way, cabins in Wisconsin scared the living heck out of me because every cabin I ever stayed in with my friends there always looked like it was something out of a horror movie. But that's why I think I liked them. It was kind of fun. But we were driving back and it was pitch dark and all we could see were the snow coming straight at us in the headlights. And I'll never forget this as long as I live. A big ball of bright white light came right up to the car and it kind of hovered in front of us and went to the side. And both of us looked at each other and like, all right, did you see that? Yeah, I saw that. Are you sure you saw that? I saw that. And it came around a lot, but I don't know what that was to this day because it wasn't an owl, because a lot of people said wasn't an owl. I'm like, no, because I would have seen an owl. This was literally pure white, bright light. And it was probably a little bigger than a basketball. And that stayed with me.
Well, I don't know if that's interesting because I don't know. A lot of people haven't heard this theory about owls, but I'll say Kathy Hanley Little said, I knew I liked you, David. I love Led Zeppelin. So do I love Led Zeppelin. I was going to say there is the theory about owls and UFOs. So seeing owls or being very attracted to owls and also coupling that, especially with wanting to be connected with ET or UFOs. And a person that's done a lot of research on this is Mike Cleland, CLELLAND. And he is fascinating to listen to some of his research that he's done. Like he doesn't get into statistics and clinical research, but a lot of the people he's talked to and stories and stuff. So you guys may want to check that out. So I don't know, like you said, it wasn't an owl.
but
And
it
did you
wasn't
guys
an owl. But
feel
I know
anything?
owls are connected to ETs in some respects.
Did you feel anything?
I don't remember back then. All I remember is thinking, what is that? And I mean, if for me, it's good. It was always going to that person. If I asked them to that day, they'll just go, "That was really freaky," because just normal everyday
So you know
person.
you didn't imagine it when
But
somebody
yeah, we
else.
know it because there was somebody there. And then, my background growing up as a child, having all those experiences, so it didn't scare me, but it certainly did. It was amazing. And I know it because it would have, the way it was coming towards us, you thought like if somebody threw a snowball, it would have splattered on the window. But it didn't. It came right at us, and it just stayed there, and then it went around us and went. And I was like, okay.
Oh, it could have been an angel letting you know it was there watching you with the snow, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say that's another thing a theory that I thought of, because I was also I was talking to angels since I was a very young little child, or angelic beings, I suppose, yeah, and because they were just always there. So what you said makes a lot of sense. We were in a snowstorm driving to the cabin,
Yeah,
and we weren't drinking or drunk or anything. I was probably about 20 at the time, about 20 years old. God, that was a long time ago.
but driving in the snow, I'm in Thunder Bay in northwestern Ontario, and I'm about 35, 40 minutes away from the Minnesota border. I have been to Wisconsin numerous times, and you guys have very similar weather to what we do. And for people that are in the US, I'm about 6.5 hours north of Minneapolis, Minnesota. So it's dangerous driving in the snow. So I'm just going to say hi to a few people. Well, first, Jennifer says, I've been noticing that I haven't been looking up much this summer, and that makes me sad. So now I'm more mindful of doing it because you can miss a lot. You sure can. Hi, George Lunsford. I love George. George's been on the Angel Rock many times. He's got some awesome books. You guys got to check them out. All about cryptids and Bigfoot and you name it. George, feel free to put in the chat where to find your books, because he's such a fascinating, interesting guy, super knowledgeable, and he's writing more books. You even asked me about maybe anything that might want to consider mentioning that's of interest in Canada to Canadians. So Jennifer M says, my family loved stargazing when I was growing up, and I didn't get the telescope from childhood, but I do have some high-tech binoculars for night sky gazing. Have fun, Dave. We got, hello, is that Charlene? I hope I said that right. It looks like an Charlene. I'm not sure. Junice, welcome. She says hello, everyone. And Marissa Baril says hi, everyone. So welcome. If you are there, feel free to let people know if you're comfortable where you're from. And if you're lurking, feel free to jump in the chat. We love having people join us here. So you know what, though? Okay, getting back to this ET stuff. So I've always because you and I are almost the same age, and I remember when Star Wars came out, right? And it was everybody had to see it, and I was such a tomboy when I was a little kid, and of course was right into it. And as I've gotten older, I am positive, and Star Trek, I used to watch Star Trek all the time when I was a little kid, and I've always thought it had to come from somewhere. And my partner Del does a lot of research about stuff like this too. And we were having a conversation years ago, and I said, you know what? I think George Lucas and Gene Roddenberry must have channeled the idea for both these series. And apparently they did. I don't know if they use the word channeling. Yeah. But have you heard that before?
Yeah, I was going to say a lot of shows come out of, if people understand, I'll give everybody a quick rundown real quick. We won't get into this. Let's talk about the star stuff. But we do channel all the time, writing, music, and all that. We're like, where did that song come from? We know. Everybody has help. So I do believe.
But that's quite a story. It's not don't get me wrong. Yeah, you're right. I agree 100%. We channel, but that even to the effect Steve Jobs is no longer alive, but there is quite a bit of stuff, depending how deep you dig, that he channeled some of this information, with the iPhone and the concept of the iPhone.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's a lot of people. Like Kathy Hanley Little said, downloads. Downloads happen a lot. I can't remember who asked me. Somebody asked a question today about ringing in the ears. Oh, I think it was on my, I was doing a live today for a little bit on TikTok. And by the way, if anybody's listening from TikTok when I was doing my live today, I'm sorry. It got cut off, not for any reason, except my iPad overheated. I was outside in 90-degree weather and it overheated and shut off. So that's why I wasn't there. But like when people have the ringing in their ears, I mean, there's so many meanings to it. If it's not a physical thing, because there is a physical thing that happens with ringing in the ears. So, I mean, if it's not that and that's ruled out.
Yes, tinnitus. Yeah.
Yeah, tinnitus. I always tell people that sometimes ringing in the ears are when you hear tones and you're like, what does that mean? What does that mean? It's like, well, somebody's trying to contact you. But a lot of times, too, this is what this is. It is a download of sorts. Because
that's that's where I was going to go with this. I agree 100% because spirit is here to help connect with you, to help you along the way while you're here is the way I feel about it. And I'm sure you do too, Dave. So when we attach meaning to something, like, for example, if somebody's getting into mediumship or psychic, whatever, right? Connecting with your intuitive gifts, you could literally sit down and make yourself, and I've seen people that do this, that every time I see a red rose, it means this. Every time I see this, it means this. I've kind of done that with hearts in the most random of crazy places, and I've talked about it many times before in the past. But where I'm going with the ringing in the ears, I have decided for myself that when I get ringing in the ears, again, you have to rule out it's not tinnitus, but tinnitus is usually very chronic and really debilitating. It's just, it comes out of nowhere. Unless I'm driving though, I will stop, close my eyes, breathe, and be open and literally say within the mind's eye, I'm open to receiving. And I don't ask, what are you sending me? What are you sending me? I just trust that something is being sent to me for future use.
Yeah, I tell people that tone you hear, because a lot of people think like being a medium, I'm very clairaudient. So I hear words in my head. Okay, that's what clairaudience is. It's clear hearing. So I hear the words in my head, but not always. But they're not actually speaking words is what they're doing, because there's really no need for, we don't speak with our mouths. We don't need to.
Yeah, but it's telepathy, right?
So it's telepathy. And the tones are actually, one tone can have a whole message behind it. And how you can think about that is, if I were to say the word Christmas and I told you to just close your eyes and imagine Christmas, you're probably going to have a billion symbols in your head. Horses, sleighs, Santa Claus, presents, Jesus.
I got a movie. When you said Christmas, I got a movie.
Yeah, so you're going to get a million things from one word. That's what that tone is. That tone contains lots of information. And I think, and then the download is, it's getting to you and it just kind of stays with you until you need it. And then it will come out.
And that's what I do when I receive it, is I just trust, like I say, I lean into it, if you will. So unless I'm driving, it doesn't happen usually when I'm driving. I have even said when it gets really loud, within the mind's eye, I'll say, I'm not going to say it out loud, but I will say, could you please turn that down? It's a little too loud. No. Now, Kathy Hanley Little, this is interesting. You said left side is your guides and right side is your angels. That's for you, right?
That's for you.
That. Yeah. And because you've put definition and meaning to it, that is exactly how you will receive it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So that's good that you have that. You're able to decipher that. Some people can't decipher that, Kathy. You know that probably. It's kind of like when I do mediumship readings, if you ask people, I'm always looking off to the right. Everything comes in on the right for me for some odd reason. And then if it's super duper important, something will come in on the left, and that's the one that grabs me. So if somebody can't get my attention on the right, it seems like they'll come in on the left. But that's just how it works for me. It doesn't mean...
And I don't do it that way. For me, I'm very clairaudient too. For people listening, they're going, what the heck's clairaudient? We have many clairs, they're called, how we receive information as human beings. And I think it's not just spiritual, right? But clairaudience is used with the spiritual field. It's when we hear, I always say within the mind's eye. So it's not like we're here. Sometimes people hear voices. It just depends, right? Your guides are going to work with you and your angels, I think, in the best way that you are able to receive it and understand it, accept it, and interpret it.
Yeah.
So for me, I just hear it. It doesn't come in one ear and out the other ear, but that's the beauty in it. We're all individual and we're all unique, and we're all going to receive it in the best way when we are open to receiving it, that they will send it to us. Now, this is a good question that you asked Contessa Martin. She said, do downloads happen at any time or more when you are sleeping? They can happen at any time, but say you find it very disturbing and you're sleeping, you could ask your guides to please not wake you up while you're sleeping if you're waking up with a download. If you're not, just accept that you're getting it, and it's easier to come through that way when you're sleeping. You're more open.
I think the whole thing is with ringing in the ears or downloads and all that is not to overthink it. Just let it happen.
That's why I was trying to say it. I think you were, Dave. Like we don't sit there and say when you get the ringing in the ears, oh my gosh, what are you sending me? What is it? What is it? What is it? It's just being open to receiving it, knowing it's coming from your team, if you will. And when the time for you to discover, you may not discover what it is, but you may all of a sudden notice that maybe one of your, as I call it, gifts, and Dave does too, maybe it's a little bit more fine-tuned, or maybe you're getting more evidential proof. Now that's just one, like not even a percentage of what could be sent in the way of a download.
Yeah. The more I work, because being anybody who's watching you does what Lorilei and I do, and I'm sure there's a lot of people who do, will know that we're constantly working and refining these gifts, okay, that we have. You have to. I mean, everybody comes in with them. The only difference between us and anybody else is that we decided we had the calling to refine these gifts and remember to use them. Pretty much is all it is.
But what I want to remind people, Dave, is if you're feeling that call and you're feeling the call, you're feeling the pull, you can remember too. Okay, it's like riding a bike. Now, if you haven't been on a bike in 40 years, you're not going to be doing a marathon. You're going to have to build up to that. So you start working those muscles again. You work with different mentors. You do a lot of reading. You do a lot of connecting with people within, this type of genre of field, and you can remember.
Yep,
you'll be able to.
And the next part of mine actually goes exactly with our next comment here, which is whenever my ears ring, this is from Charlene Junis, whenever my ears ring immediately for a few hours, something usually strange happens at night, like I hear Ethriel singing.
That's beautiful.
I totally understand that because I work on my clairaudience a lot, and you can ask Lorilei. I'll say, okay, I was hearing stuff the other night. Because when you're a clairaudient medium, you're constantly working on sound. That's I do it all the time. It's just second nature now. I'll try to find I'll hear the slightest sound outside and I'll be like a giant cone. I'll be like looking for that sound, trying to find it. And I do the same thing. I'll be trying to find sounds and I'll start hearing singing and stuff like that, or hear music and I can't really place. I'm like, is somebody playing music outside? Am I hearing it? And I can't, and it's not a song I know. That's always when I know it's them, because it's like, I don't know that song. You're playing something that you want me to catch, my attention to.
But so the beauty of what you shared, Charlene, is whenever your ears ring immediately for a few hours, something usually strange is going to happen at night. You've defined it. You've put meaning to it. You've noticed, that the synchronicity, if you will, when it happens, that this is what's going to happen. So it does, right?
Yeah. We get to decide how it happens. We really can. I mean, they'll do something, and if you're not comfortable with it, it's going to change it.
Well, think about the times we've talked about this, not even on air, Dave, but we're getting something from our team, and you're not maybe quite hearing it the way we want to or understanding it. You can ask your guides to give it to you in a different way that you can better understand it.
I've done it even in mediumship readings. I was telling you, I did a mediumship reading. This was a little while back, but during my mediumship reading, if anybody knows or does mediumship, they work in symbols, talking, sight, sound, everything. You just got to be open to it all. And I use every clair when I do a reading. But with like names, people go, how do you get names? Either I'll just hear the name, or sometimes they'll repeat a person over and over that I know, and I'll be like, okay, I have somebody here. Like my mom, I've had that before. They kept showing me my mom, and I said, I have a spirit here. It feels like your mother. And I said, her name is Joyce or something like that. And they're like, oh yeah, that's her. I'm like, that's because they show me my mom, because I couldn't hear them. So they'll show me a name of somebody. But anyway, I had this one spirit, and this is odd. They do this. So my NDE consisted of pancreatitis and sepsis. Okay. So I've had spirits come in and show me when if I ask them the question, how did you pass? They'll show me a picture of me.
Yeah, but what you're finding out is your team is working with you to give you the message in the best way that you will be able to interpret it.
But this is the funny part is, I know if they show me that it's usually sepsis or pneumonia. All right. Now, one time this spirit kept showing me, but I already established how that spirit went. And I'm like, why are they showing me? And I just told the person, I said, they keep showing me and I can't get their name. I'm so sorry. And they go, well, their name's David. And I'm like, that's why they kept showing me. Yeah. I'm like, you smart alecky spirit, man. But that's exactly how they do. It's being a medium is fun, you guys. If you think it's not all mysterious and weird like that. I mean, it's really quite normal. It's like playing charades sometimes, and it's just so much fun. And if you can really, really, really just go out there, and if you're doing it with your heart, you're just going to get the information. It just kind of comes with you, kind of like the Charmaine said that the music that she hears is mind-boggling, and I agree with you. It can be. You'll hear this music out of nowhere, and you'll be like, "What's that coming from? Am I having a stroke?" And it's like, nope, it's not. I feel completely fine. I think it's all
really how you feel, though.
Yeah,
like people share an experience, and it's maybe a little spooky or unusual.
I suppose it probably is.
No, but the first thing I ask people is, how did it make you feel?
Yeah.
Right? Because and you still could be scared, and it doesn't mean it's something negative.
Yes,
it's a place to start at and kind of work through it. But most of us are pretty good at picking up, whether you work within the spiritual field or not, about whether there's maybe danger and a lot of us will do this, even though you may not realize it. You'll walk into a room right when there was an argument or a fight or something, or think about it when you've been in a really stressful situation and you'll hear, we could have cut the tension with a knife. Right? Yeah. Nothing's being said, but you can feel it. So that's all. We're not taught to tune into our whole mind, body, and soul. And that's what makes us up, right? So, maybe you're not always going to hear, but maybe you're going to feel it. Or maybe pay attention to your body. Do you feel something in your body? While you're connecting? Do you smell something? Do you taste something? Like I say, the more, and you can, like some people have shared here, the more you define it with your team, they're here to help you succeed at the reason for why you were here. We're all here for a reason, and they're going to work best with you. And if you can't get it, you just let them know, or you ask them.
Yeah, I can't get it.
In a different way. And hi, Joe Fox. He said, hello, guys.
Hi, Joe Fox. Also, while we're on this subject real quick, to all you people listening out there, I get this question a lot. I keep seeing this butterfly over and over, and I believe it's my mom. I always tell somebody, listen, It really doesn't matter what a psychic says or anything else.
It is.
If you have an experience and it made you think of somebody, then I want you to know that somebody wanted you to think of them. And that's all you really need to know. You don't even have to second guess it. You don't have to get a reading to find out. I've had people do that. I had one person get a reading, but you have those tricky ones. I had a woman come in one time and she's like, I said, do you have any questions for your loved one? She goes, can you do me a favor? Ask them what sign they're sending me, because I keep getting one. And I said, oh, and that's like one of those trick questions, and I'm saying, so I was sitting there and I asked the spirit, I'm like, they want to know the sign you're sending. And their spirit said, well, they already see it. They know what it is. And I said, they want me to tell them. So they showed me. And I said, oh, okay. And I said, well, I've just got to tell you, you're supposed to pay attention to all the little birds that are coming into here. And her face was like, She's like, that's it. I'm like, okay, there you go. So, but you know what? It is what Lorilei said. However you feel when you encounter something, go by that. Go by that.
That's one of the first questions. And we've got a few people here. Michelle's over in Australia, Friday morning over there. She says, good day, listening at work. We got Natu Haunted. Okay, Charlene said, I was wondering if anyone has ever experienced the symptoms of sleep paralysis without feeling paralyzed. So in other words, someone touches them at night, hearing whispers, etc. Yep. Yeah. Doesn't mean you're I don't know how you could call it, though. Maybe I'm not understanding, because it wouldn't really be sleep paralysis if you didn't feel like you couldn't move.
Yeah. Right? Sleep paralysis scientifically is your body puts itself in a state of kind of just paralysis. The reason it does that, a lot of people will say, is so you don't act out your dreams. Because when you have dreams, your body might want to move with them, and that could be dangerous. So that's what sleep paralysis is. Sometimes some people wake up before the sleep paralysis, they wake up too early. And some people
have a different definition.
Some people, and I'm not saying this is everybody, but a good rule of thumb for me is some people will wake up early and they'll be like, I couldn't breathe. I get it. If you wake, I've been in that position. I was in that position in the hospital when I was in the coma, in and out, where I woke up, and it took me a long time to recognize it. I kept waking up before anything else, and I'd wake up and I couldn't move.
But you were medically induced.
Medications. Then I did have
sleep paralysis does happen. Okay, I can tell you it happens. And even though I'm a nurse, I'm telling you from personal experience with the paranormal. And yes, that is the scientific definition. You gave the clinical scientific definition of what sleep paralysis technically is. Yeah. But I can tell you, it hasn't happened very often. It was in my old home. And very interestingly enough, it happened 3 times, once on one of my birthdays, where I was laying there and I could not move, and I could literally feel hands around my throat and could not breathe. Yeah. Eventually, I could move and get up, and I still had that feeling. It can happen. I have seen it happen. Is it common? No. David is right. That is the clinical definition of what sleep paralysis is. But then you look at people that sleepwalk, right?
Yeah. So sleepwalk,
no, but think about it, right? We're all different, but is that not functioning for people? Then will they dream?
Well, if you're sleepwalking, you're not in that deep state, though.
Well, no,
you're not in a dream state when you're sleepwalking.
Yes, you are.
It's not a dream state. You're still cognitive. You just don't know that you're cognitive. I think that's how. You know what? I'm going to say this. I'm going to say I'm not going to give you the definition. You know why? Because I don't know it. I was sitting here going, what do you know about sleepwalking? And it's like, you know what? I don't know enough.
That's what happens. People can move during when the dream state is the REM state, and they're up and they're moving around and they're playing out a lot of their dreams. Like if you've got somebody with good dream recall and you can talk to them and ask them afterwards, what exactly were you doing? Some people have no clue what they were doing, but there are other people that can tell you what they were dreaming about. And so I don't know. I'm not an expert.
I woke up in different, not often. I have in my lifetime went to bed and woke up someplace else in my house and just could not for the life of me remember how I got there.
So I have had sleep paralysis, like actually being absolutely awake. And it is terrifying and scary. Yeah, I can also tell you as a child, for 6 months when we moved into our new home, from the age of turning 7 to 8, and I didn't know anything about the paranormal. This was back in the 70s, exactly at 3 a.m. every single night. I would wake up unable to breathe, completely couldn't take a breath in, couldn't take a breath out. I'd go turn completely blue. They never found out what happened to me. They diagnosed me with asthma and gave me medication for a couple months. I don't know what it was, why it happened, but I was terrified to go to sleep. Terrified.
Yeah.
I would wake up.
I could see how you would be. I could see how you would be. I mean, I've had a few things that freaked me out in my life, and it wasn't from spirits or anything, but just odd things that
I
happened.
I don't know what it was, but why?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know anything about 3 a.m. And like I said, I know enough now as a nurse what asthma is. And I remember very vividly, I'm going to be 59 in August. I remember, like, literally could not take a breath in and could not inhale or exhale. And I would literally be in my parents' room and waking them up because they couldn't hear me because I wasn't breathing. And my eyes, they said, would be just like saucers. I can't tell you how many times I completely lost consciousness. There was no 911. My father would scoop me up. We'd drive away from the house. By the time we got halfway down the road to the ER, and then I'd be able to breathe.
Isn't that
Never
weird?
understood why.
Oh my goodness. There's a little firework I just heard.
That's haunted. We're going to just add
the biggest thing that happens to me now in my sleep, and it happens. It's not on a extreme regular basis, but it happens quite often. Is I hear my verbal name being called, and it's just me and my cats, and unless my cats learned how to speak English really well, it's me, and it's always
what though.
and it's all different voices too.
Dead Boy Detectives, the cats talk in there, and there's the Cat King.
Oh, the Cat King. I wouldn't be, if my cats could talk, that who knows what they're doing. My cats wake me up at a certain time every day. I have one cat I've had for 9 years.
Yeah, how do they know what time it is?
I know. Is that funny? It's like they know. Even my cats know even the time change.
Yeah.
I mean, they just know. I don't know how they know. Well, because they're not connected to time. I don't know if they just know the feeling, but I will say, I don't know. My cat.
I always say to them, how do you know what time it is? So Not Too Haunted said, my son and I are preparing for an investigation tonight at a haunted location. So cool. If you're streaming it, love to see the link. Feel free to share. Okay, Michelle, I saw this comment. I'm not quite sure because sometimes we use a little different terms with you being in Australia versus North America. You said I had an old hag the other day and it scared you. So I'm not quite sure what you mean by that. Do you know, Dave, or should we let her, maybe if you can explain a little bit more?
Yeah, put it in things. And wait, Joe said I'm a great guest. Was I on your show or are you talking this show?
Well, he's not a guest, by the way. He's a host.
Yeah, I'm not a guest on this show.
But that was nice of you, David. David's my
nice. Thank you. I'm going to take it. You're a great guest, Dave. You could never do anything.
You're a great co-host.
I thought it was funny. And I was sitting here trying to think, wait, was I on?
That's what I was thinking. And I thought, well, maybe he'll say if he was on a show or something.
Yeah, was I on one of your shows? That's what I thought. I thought, oh, thank you. Because I forget what shows I've been on. Sometimes
I literally heard spirits say, no, they think Dave's your guest.
Yeah, I've been on a lot of shows, and it's not because I'm stuck up or anything. It's because I have the worst memory. I had somebody reach out, and somebody reached out to me one time and wanted me to be a guest in their show. And I said, where did you hear about me? And they said the name of the show. And I'm like, I've never been on a show called that. Yes, I had. And I forgot. I totally forgot. I don't know why. But that's funny. Joe said
I do a lot of shows too, but this isn't the Angel Rock. Joe, I don't know if you've been here before. This is the thing at the foot of the bed. This month, it's actually a 1.5 year anniversary. Actually, tonight it is. Tonight it is our 1.5 year anniversary. I just realized that being on the network.
Yeah.
Right. We started January 4th.
Yeah, we did. January 4th.
Not this January, January before. So Joe Fox says, I did feel someone slapped my knee and then woke up with the smell of my grandmother's perfume in my nose. Right, geez, I wonder who that was.
Yeah, was it your grandmother? It could have been your grandfather. Maybe he was kissing your grandmother before she slapped your knee. I think that's cool. I like that. I still feel my old cat, he still walks on my bed. And I have to say, and I think that cat, truly, that cat when he was alive was something else. There's little names I would call him that we would get tagged for on Facebook, so I'm not going to say it. But I would call Charlie some of these names. He hated everybody but me. I had said millions of times, please don't do that, because I'll be on my bed and I'll have like my back to the wall or something, and I'll literally feel like I've got 4 cats. One of my cats jumped on the bed, and I'll turn around and it'll be nobody. And I'm like, dang it, Charlie, stop it. He does it to me quite a bit. And you know what? Even sometimes when I say stop it, when I really think about it, I'm like, please don't stop it. I think it's cool, but it always catches me off guard.
From
Yeah,
the other
it
side
catches me off guard.
that have crossed over. We've had them visit, and I know quite a few people that's happened, which is a beautiful thing. So Kathy Hanley Little saying, yes, you are in a dream state. I was a sleepwalker as a child due to trauma, trying to walk out and away from my home. Just the only reason I know a little bit about it, my ex-husband didn't sleepwalk, but he had sleep apnea. Mm-hmm. So he went to the sleep clinic, and they had been given quite a bit of information about different types of sleep phenomena and issues that people have. So see, good thing we did ask Michelle. Michelle says old hag is sleep paralysis.
I like that. I'm going to start calling it that from now on.
So Joe says he watches Sean Kelly a lot on this network. Sean Kelly, I don't know, Dave, I don't know if you've met Sean. I know Sean. I think I met him right when he came on the network. So I've known him for quite a while. It's my 5th year anniversary on this network, actually, next week. Mm-hmm. Next week.
Mm-hmm. I don't know a lot of people on the network. I know Michelle. I know Joe. I know Carrie Lynn. I know other people. I probably just can't even say all their names. Is what it is.
We've got so many new hosts. We haven't met them yet. We will. I think the only reason I get to meet a lot, because we have to produce our own shows. So people that are new on the network and learning. So I'm a backup person for Michelle and Joe. So I like doing it, because then I get to meet all the new people. So that's why I like it. Thanks, Joey says happy anniversary. So I did get some spooky stuff to look at. Unless you guys are free to keep asking questions, you guys, because you know what, we do this show for you guys. So whatever you guys want to talk about. But the one thing I think I am going to mention that we were talking about before we started, because I've been running into a lot of people having these issues, is boundaries. Because a lot of people that are in this field, especially, not just this field, but maybe empaths, very empathetic and stuff, is boundaries. And all I'll add to that is that sometimes it's okay to say no.
Yes, it is.
And not always jump. And I was sharing this with David, because that's one of my lessons to learn in this lifetime. I know it. I do know
I am terrible with boundaries.
I know most of us in this field are, but it's a question I asked Spirit how I could be better at it. And what they said to me, and I don't know everything, and if it resonates, great. And if it doesn't, that's okay too. They said, well, sometimes it's a fine line between someone really needing help or maybe, starting to maybe take a little bit of advantage. So they said, one question, what would you ask yourself? And I said, well, if I was having the same issues, would I contact another person that I didn't know very well all the time, every time I had a problem? And to myself, I answered, no. So that's kind of how I gauged it. Like, don't get me wrong, Dave and I were talking about this, and we were saying, like, we will help anybody. Like, if you really need help, we're going to help you. But sometimes, and I think you get that in the helping professions. Think about it. If you're a lawyer, or you're a police officer, or a mechanic, or something with that type of specialty, and you go to a party, what happens, right?
It took me a long time. I do a lot of, if you guys, anybody listening, if you go to TikTok, I'm at Medium David Hanzel on TikTok. I have a lot of people who impersonate me. So make sure there's like over 95,000 people. If it's under 95,000 followers, it's not me. But anyway, I do a lot of lives, and some of the questions, and I just pull cards doing it. I don't do my mediumship reading on TikTok. I only do mediumship readings usually in private, just because I think they're very private. Unless, like, I've been with Lorilei on TikTok and somebody's come through, and I don't say no, But I've had a lot of people will always come in and say, does Larry love me? Is Joe thinking about me? Is blah, 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 blah. I'm like, how in the heck would I know? I said, I can tell you your future, and I can probably tell you that. But I had to get boundaries. always say stuff at first. I wouldn't know how to handle it, but now I just tell people straight out, hey, does it really matter? If you want to know if they're thinking about them, just go ask them.
I always tell people too that and even when they're coming for a reading, and I will usually ask them, and for us, less is more, because the more you tell us, the more is it coming from what you told me. So it's always better, less is more. But I will ask people the general gist of a reading. And I'm glad that I do, because you will get people who are really having a really difficult time, and maybe they've had a breakup, and they're hurting, and they want to know why, and they want to know what their ex is doing and who's this other person in their life and stuff. And the thing I always tell people is, you know what? Could we go into another person's energy? Absolutely. Yeah. Will we? No, because that is literally like breaking into somebody's house without their
permission. For me, it's kind of creepy. It's like being a peeping Tom. I would not want somebody else psychically looking into my life. And I will say this. I'm one of those people, though, if you're trying to psychically go into my life, it's going to be very, very difficult.
Where I was going to go with this, too, is, Dave, I will say to them, if you want to know from your perspective how you can heal from this, or what did you learn or take from this, who can certainly help work with you to try and figure that out. But no one, it's exactly what you said. Same thing. I like the peeping Tom thing. I like the breaking in, because that is breaking into someone's house.
It is. I'll tell a quick story just so you guys know. Kathy Hanley said most mediums don't do relationships. If I'm doing mediumistic stuff, I'm cool with it. But I'm not doing psychic stuff or whatever. I really don't mind somebody asking me. I'll get them what they need to know. But a long time ago, this was back in the group we shall not speak of. I was doing
the Voldemort group.
The Voldemort group. I had a lady who literally, she didn't want to talk on the phone for this mediumship reading. And I said, I do him in person. And she said, can you please do an email? And I said, yes. And she said, do you need any details? And I said, no, please don't tell me anything. So otherwise it's not going to prove anything. So I came back, and we had to write back and forth, which was really annoying. But I wrote her back and I said, yes, this gentleman came in, and this gentleman, passed away in a car accident. And I said, there was another person with them. And I said, I believe it was a woman. She comes back. Oh yeah, I know who that is. And what that was. She right away wanted to know if he was cheating on her.
That's a question we get asked a lot.
Yeah. And this had just happened. Now, here's the deal. Spirit gives us free range. We don't have to say it. They always leave the discernment up to us. We can get the information. Whether we say it, we know better, and we're going to do it. So when I got the information, and yes, he was with her, I said,
how's that going to help?
Yeah, I just told her, I'm not getting anything on that. All I can tell you is that they're both fine. And we went on. And then I said, I'm going to give you, because she wanted to know all this extra stuff. And I said, that's about all I'm going to get. I really can't get any more on that. So I said, I'm just going to return your money, which I did. And she did give it back to me again. But I didn't want to. It was not that time. I've also had people ask me, hey, is my husband's cheating on me and all that? And I would go through and I would say, do you know who the blonde-haired girl is with him that has this bracelet or watch or whatever? And she goes, yeah, that's the one he's cheating with. And I said, I don't believe they're cheating. And then one time when I was saying that to that woman, my guide said, she's the one cheating. I said, what?
See, normally how
I went to her and I said, okay. I said, it doesn't feel like he's cheating. But I said, who's Robert? She goes, oh, that's my work husband. And I said, yeah. I said, listen, the only reason that you're feeling this about your husband is because you might be doing something that you're feeling guilty about. So kind of watch that, okay? And she understood, and she knew I knew. She was the one cheating on her husband, but she was projecting and saying it was her husband cheating on her. And that's why I don't like, Lorilei will tell you the same thing. That's why I don't like to go into it and look at other people's energies. That stuff is not for me to know.
I don't. And usually where I go with it is, and I talked a bit about this Monday night on Canada Day, is when somebody comes to us with a question, they usually know the answer.
Yeah, they
But
usually do.
the reason why I think they ask is sometimes you really just do need clarity. But the reason why they ask, and it's the same reason why we'll ask a friend's opinion of something, right? Because
Validation.
we're not 100% sure. Are we going to get validation? So I tend to really ask people a lot, well, what do you think? And why do you think this way? And then we get more into about why they're feeling that way and how maybe we could help them feel better about it. Because all you're going to do, and I've never forgotten when you shared this, it was probably about a year or so ago, Dave. And one of the things I think that when we're in this field, especially, is we cannot take away people's hope. So
Yeah.
you just use the perfect example of two people that were in spirit, and somebody came to you asking you the message, were they cheating? And I remember I had said, how is that going to help her?
Yeah,
That's
it's
all
not.
it's going to do is hurt her deeper and have more issues. That there'd be nothing she could do about it, right?
The only way I would have told her the truth is if it had been like 10 years and she was just not getting over it. I might say, listen, you can get over it and it's good for you to move on because this person, would want you to. I probably would. I still, even if I played it like I was just playing it in my head, I still wouldn't do it because
it's not going to solve anything. And the same thing is we're not always 100% right. And I tell people that. Like we can get pretty accurate at times, but we're human beings too. Plus, especially, it was so funny, David and I were doing free readings on his channel one time, and I said, yes, and I don't like to read the future. I don't do. And what did I answer the next question? Like something about next week or whatever.
Yeah.
But usually what I preface it with, and I know Dave does too, is in this moment, because there's many different timelines and versions of things depending.
Just remember, when a psychic reads your future, I'm going to tell you, any psychic, and one, if a psychic goes, I'm 100% accurate, just take your money back.
Run.
Run. I have to say, I give myself a pat on the back. I'm pretty accurate, but I'm not 100%. Here's why. When you tell somebody asks about the future, when I look at that from a psychic sense, look into your future or look at that stuff, it's going to show me from where they are now.
That's what I said, in this moment. This moment.
Yeah. The next day, you could change your attitude, or next week, you could find out that person was a real scum, and no, you don't ever want to marry them again. So we don't know. I think the only way you can get a bit more accurate is possibly by going in the Akashic, but even the Akashic changes.
No, with the Akashic records from doing them myself, and now I've been taught and have many friends that do it as well. How I do it, we go in through the heart space as well as use crystalline energy, and we ask questions and we follow it up with further questions. Now, can we work with one of the masters, teachers, and loved ones, as I've been taught to call them? Yes, but normally I work with a collective, because we get more well-rounded wisdom and perspective, and they meet you where you're at.
Yeah.
So if I went in there and asked them for somebody, is my husband cheating on me, I would be absolutely bowled over. If the masters, teachers, and loved ones said, hell yeah, honey, move on. They're not going to say that.
They're probably not. Yeah, they won't say that. I have had like the collective, say something to me in the order of, we cannot interfere with their free will, so we can't give you that answer. Mm-hmm. And I'll be like, I totally get you. But I said, where they are, where would they go?
I'd like to ask that question a little bit differently from a different perspective.
Yeah, I do. That's what I do. Yeah. Trust me, you guys, once this isn't something you learn overnight. I mean, it's like it takes a long time to talk to a whole lot of people there and go through a whole lot of stuff and then you got to figure out your own beliefs and what you believe and what they believe and what the belief systems are. So but it's wild. I love it. I wouldn't not do it.
No, I love doing this too. Now, Kathy Hadley Little says it depends on the path that is taken after the read.
Exactly.
Beautifully, Kathy. So I don't know. You want to get into something? We're already at 20 after 8, you guys. Fastest 2 hours of my week besides the Angel Rock, I swear.
Well, what's the one? Do we got something maybe spooky?
We talked spooky. I want to say hi to Reiki Life Coach. I don't know if they're still there over on Instagram, but thank you so much for popping in if you're still there. So let's see. What have I got? Well, you know what? I was finding some spooky stuff on Bazaar Bub. There was a lot of stuff coming up on the Appalachians for some reason. Some of these are kind of, there's some shorter ones. I don't know. Do you want me to
I watched a story about, they were talking about the mountains, but they were talking about the mountains by me, but they mentioned Appalachians. So I don't know if I don't think the Appalachians run through here, but about the feral people who live up there.
Oh, okay. You know who talks about that kind of stuff? And I don't know if it's made up or not, is this Dougie Corvallo or something. And I always kept hearing him talk about all these stories and tell them from the first person. I'm thinking, there is no way you've had that crazy of a life. There is no way. Until I was watching one of his lives and people write in the stories. But he was talking about there's one story somebody wrote in about running into the feral people in the Appalachians. And oh my Lord, it was terrifying. And especially some of them, there was a cult too they were talking about way back in the backwoods. It was scary.
There could be. The woods are unexplored. We can't even find Bigfoot, let alone, there's got to be more than Bigfoot, feral people, and all that in the woods. So, I'm sure there is. I kind of don't discount anything. There could be something somewhere.
Hang on. Okay. I'm gonna see what you guys think on this. Now, these girls are really good actresses. For some reason, a lot of these videos were in Spanish, but they're translated. Hang on, I'll add it. You guys, I won't say anything. You see what you guys think with this. Okay. So these girls have decided they're gonna play Ouija. And I know that'll open a whole can of worms, won't it, Dave?
That's fun though. It's fun. Let's explore. Let's see what happens.
Okay, hang on. I know we can have a little.
The following video shows 3 friends who are hanging out at a friend's house when suddenly an unsettling occurrence is caught on camera. What starts off as a simple get-together eventually turns into something straight out of a horror movie. The friend hosting the gathering is filming her friends, showing off her new camera when the following is caught on tape. This is what...
So she says, my camera. Hola.
Me gusta. Hola. Qué divina tu cámara. ¿Te gusta? Mía, boluda. A nadie me regaló mi mamá. Ay, comiste tu hija de puta. Tenía. Escucha, hace mate. Dale. Mira. Aguanta que esto no usa. Ahí está. Dale, te compras si no se usa. Escucha, ¿qué pasó con Gaby? Te cuento lo que Gaby reciente. ¿Qué le pasó? Chocó con la moto. Con la moto del papá. No, con la moto del papá chocó.
I'm going to pause it for a sec, just for people listening. So these girls look like they're somewhere in South America, and they're teenage girls. The one girl who's hosting this little get-together in the kitchen, it looks like in their house, has a new camera her mother gave her. And the other girl's going, I'm starving. Now, they don't say who they're talking about, but from watching this a second time, I believe they're talking about somebody, maybe a friend or a relative who's lost their life.
They're doing this
on a motorcycle.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. On a motorcycle. So just with fair use, I'm sorry guys, we have to stop it though, otherwise YouTube doesn't like it.
Plus you wouldn't know we were happening.
So they're just making
No, dale, eso estamos. Y para eso vinimos más o menos. Dale. Vinimos a visitar para eso. Dale, claro. Que los estamos jugando con eso anoche.
So somebody suggested they're going to play Ouija, and they're going to play Ouija, but they're going to use her new camera and film it. Now the girls, I was expecting them to pull out a Ouija board, and they don't. They pull out a glass and a piece of paper. So this is when it finally starts up here.
It's a DIY Ouija.
Ay, no, tráele más allá. A ver. Ay, estamos en todo.
What makes me think it's like a little bit more real is what happened.
Hay más frío, tomate.
It's not the spooky part. They get an angry the friend in the cave, what she does.
Ahí. Ahí se ve, ahí está. Para preguntar, yo tengo más experiencia. Pregunta. ¿En serio lo que está pasando? Sí, en serio.
Yes, I really know how to use it.
¿Hay alguien en esta casa?
Just ask if there anyone
No
in the
jodan, ¿en
room.
serio se movió? No jodan, ¿en serio? ¿Viste? Vos sos boluda. Ay, no.
They're going to stop it before the thing happens. But what happens for people listening? The three friends are sitting down. They've got one or two fingers on this glass. It looks like an upside down, not a wine glass, kind of like a juice glass. And they just asked in Spanish, is there anybody here? And the friend in green who's hungry, she made it move. So they're mad. The other two girls are kind of walking away from the camera, but the camera's still filming. So now this is where the part is. Watch the glass.
Fue una joda, basta. Pero boluda de cual. No. Sí, vamos a ver, jodita. Ay, pero para empezar, bien. Pero si vos. Bueno, una joda. Es que fuera joda. ¡Ey, pará, boluda! Estoy mintiendo, no estoy jodiendo. Para clarizar. Eso se movió en serio. Sí. Hay que terminar. Agarrá. No, mira. ¡Ey! No, boluda, dale, que tengo miedo, boluda.
Now, in case you missed it, towards the end of the video, moments before the lights go out, the wine glass can be seen moving on its own once more before one of them notices. It was at this point that they realized that they probably shouldn't have played with the makeshift Ouija board, as they were deeply disturbed. Not much else is known about the video since the original source is unknown. But like always, you be the judge as to whether or not the video is real. Is this actual paranormal evidence or not? Feel free to let me know what you think down below.
So I don't know. What do you think?
Honestly,
What do you think, Dave?
I hate to be that guy. I hate to
Or
be
anybody
that
else
guy.
in the chat?
Yeah, but for me
I know
personally,
Dave's gonna say it's fake. So Diane says
think-
she's seen that happen in Yellow.
Okay, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that stuff doesn't happen, because it does. I've been sitting there when it does.
I think
video,
it's fake.
it
I
was
think
too
it's
scripted. Yeah, it was too scripted.
I think it was a home video if you really want to know, and I think it was fake.
Yeah, I think it was fake. But like Diane Brighton says, now I will sit here and I'll debunk a lot of stuff or say I'm going to debunk it, but I'm not saying that it doesn't happen, because I've saw stuff like that happen. I've saw things move without nobody being there. Literally saw it with my own eyes.
Left on a Ouija board,
Yeah.
and it was scorched. It didn't light on fire, but it was scorched, the planchette.
Oh, yeah.
I have seen all kinds of crazy stuff in real time on real life.
But Ouija boards, just so people listening, I do not have anything against Ouija boards. I think Ouija boards are fun. I think me and Lorilei have talked about this before. It's not the board, it's the user. Yeah.
Yep. It is. And it's just like anything. I think you need to have somebody show you how to use it properly and responsibly, and how to open the session, close the session, and to work with what you think is coming through. Because I think that people that have the problems with Ouija boards, they're in a lower vibrational state usually. The ones I've seen anyways is that, they're grieving, they're missing somebody. It's usually a parent I've seen, and a child, not a child, but an adult child who's having a really difficult time, say in a state of depression, and they really do believe they're talking to their loved one.
Yeah.
And it gets, and they've never been shown how to use the board or anything. So sometimes that can happen, but no, it's not evil. It's a tool. Right.
There's another one out of the group that has a bad name. When that group closed down, a woman came over to mine, and the woman that I used to work with, who I found that name. God, we have a lot, and Lorilei and I have a lot of people we will not name anymore. Just like, it's like y'all crazy.
I need the group. It's the Voldemort group. That shall not be named.
It was like Slytherin for a group. But anyway, she and I felt terrible for her because she had lost a son, and in one of the classes they were teaching divination with a why can't I ever call these what they are? Why do a pendulum? Ugh. Anyway, she was learning. I can never remember the word pendulum. Isn't that funny? And I own like 50,000 of them. But she could never. She was in a class to learn the pendulum. Anyway, she went home with it. And she's like, "Oh, I've been working with it all night long, and my son's coming through." And she goes, "Could my son be coming through?" And I said, "Well, yes." And the reason I said yes is because I used to play with my older brother who passed away with my pendulum. But I do a lot of, I test the pendulum. I do control questions and everything. She was on that. She was using this pendulum. She got stuck on that pendulum for like hours and hours a day. And then she started to try to give readings to people, telling everybody that her son was doing it. And the readings that she was saying to people were horrendous. I don't mean like bad readings. I mean, they were so much negativity in them. And I'm like, that's not from your son, my dear.
Yeah, but how many times have I shown this trick? And again, I will show it. If you want something bad enough and you know how to manipulate energy, you can move a pendulum to tell you what you want it to tell you. Like I'm going to tell it to move back and forth. Then I'm going to ask it to stop. Now I'm going to ask it to swing in circles. Sorry, my hand moved. I'll get it to stop again. I'll ask it to swing in circles. And I'll ask it to stop. So when you want something very badly, and if you know how to focus your energy, it's going to tell you exactly what you want it to tell you. And that's probably why for your friend that it wasn't working very well for your friend, because it's not hard. You know who showed me how to do this? Actually, my partner, Del, who doesn't do spiritual work, but he does he knows all about energy from a scientific perspective.
Did you ever see this? I've done this before. And I'll let you finish. If you're playing with your pendulum and you're not trusting it, grab a pencil and wrap it around. Mm-hmm. And then hold the pencil at both ends. And then let it go. Then ask the questions. Because what happens in pendulums and especially in pendulums, what happens is it is spirit or is your higher self giving you the answers. And what it's doing, it's interpreting it through small motor nerves.
It still works, Dave.
It'll still work. Yeah.
But I'm asking it and telling it what to do.
Yeah, it's still going to work. So yeah, it works, but that's what I mean. That's how you.
So I could still manipulate it with a device. So I know for myself, the only time I use a pendulum is when I'm doing crystal Reiki, because I don't have a vested interest in what somebody's chakras are going to tell me. But lots of people can do it. They use pendulums to tell them where they've lost stuff and whatever. I know for myself, I can't do that because it'll show me where I think I might have left it or what I would have done. So I can't use it for that. Now my body, like say I'm asking too, if I'm out and I want to know, is this certain brand of vitamin good for me or whatever? Yeah, I don't have a vested interest in what vitamin brand is going to be better. So it's going to give me a true answer.
Diane Brighton says, my grandmother made her own pendulums with thread and a safety pin. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You don't have to have a fancy pendulum. No. As long as it's a pendulum, it works. If you want to be really, really weird, if you can find a stick and don't even touch it with your hands and ask the pendulum things, that's always really weird. Yeah, you can use that.
You can put think about it. I think we were talking about this on Monday night too. How many of you remember, especially grandmothers or aunts or whatever, when someone was pregnant, what did they do? Put a needle on a string and hold it over the baby. And if it went one way, it was going to be a boy. If it went another way, it was going to be a girl. You don't have to have crystals to be.
No, you don't need a crystal or anything. They're just pretty. They're just pretty. And for me, like some of my pendulums were gifted.
Hi, Jackie Lane. Sorry, I
Some
wanted
of,
to say hi.
some of them were gifted to me by friends, so I cherish them like that. You know what I mean? Because
I make them with resin. Like I have one. I don't know if I've showed it to you, Dave. I was taking Julie Jean Bassett's animal communication course, and one of the ways they did this with the Akashic records. That's where this is from, actually. My Akashic records practitioner. She channeled from spirit 3 different spirit crystals for every person, and then this is how you can learn to trust your answers from spirit. And a lot of practitioners will teach you this. You use a pendulum to check your answer. So that was what was suggested in our animal communication course. And I thought, I'm going to make a pendulum. So I have one with little teeny tiny 3D kittens in them.
Now, there you go. Yeah, you can use them. I always tell people, like for me, I've always learned, I don't know everybody else's, but this is my advice if anybody would happen to ask me. I don't ask more than a couple questions, though. Once I went through my control, and like if I'm asking questions for myself, I'm saying if you're using it for like work or divination, like crystals and all that, or for healing, that's a different story. But if you're just sitting by yourself and you're asking questions, do the controls to get them out of the way. I don't ask for more than like 3 or 4 questions, and then I put it down.
And I always thank my pendulum too.
Yeah.
I just do. Mm-hmm.
So it
has a personality, or the pendulum's telling me no, we're channeling energy through it. See, now Diane Brighton, you said hold it over pregnant woman's wrist tells male or female baby coming. I've never heard over the wrist. Doesn't mean it doesn't work. If that's how you do it and it works for you, hey, great. Right?
Oh, I know. And I just thought those are the same people who sit at baby showers and put the pendulum over the tummy to see if it's
that's what I've always seen.
And then I hate, and then they go, oh, witchcraft is evil. It's like, well, what do you think you just did at the baby shower, you idiot? Mm-hmm. So yeah. I think it's a very beautiful thing to do.
No, and I do. I have a lot of pendulums and I like them. But
they're fun.
Like I said, I've just learned for myself that if I have a vested interest, and I have proven it to myself, I've been using pendulums for years. Now, pendulums aren't evil. And if you really think about it, how I used to use a pendulum, and I still will do it from time to time sometimes if I'm teaching people, is to draw a circle and draw the alphabet all around, put it in the middle and ask it to spell out whatever the answer is.
Spell it out. I've always wanted one day when I have my mountain home up in the mountains, I want to get 2 huge logs and a log across it in a chain, and I want to find a large crystal and make a giant pendulum outside.
Oh, that'd be beautiful.
And just sit around it and just.
I want a copper pyramid. I want the copper pyramid when I have a big like somewhere off on the beach. That's where I want to live one day, on the ocean. And the power of a copper pyramid when you sit within to meditate and then add crystals to it. Can you imagine?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of fun stuff like that. People should really look into that. Spirituality isn't scary. It's not. There's some really fun stuff. Kathy Deck says, my parents got me a Ouija for Christmas in the 60s. My nephew and I asked a question we knew would be a no. It did move to no. It was a did you do it to each other. I was the jokester, but I barely touched it. We freaked out and threw it in the closet. My Jehovah's Witness neighbor asked to see it. He slapped it from me and torched it and said I was bound to hell. Oh, I would have said,
I'll meet you there.
What I would not give to be there for that. I think that's hilarious.
Yeah, but back in the day, Parker Brothers were the ones that, because it was the big thing, right? The spiritualist movement in the Victorian era, right into the 1920s, and seances and all this stuff. And then Parker Brothers, I believe it was in the 50s, started marketing Ouija boards for kids. Like I can tell you, I was in Toronto. I was in the hospital for 6 weeks. And just before I went home, I ended up going to, it used to be called I think it's still called the Eaton Center. I haven't been to Toronto in a while. And they have a Disney store there. This was years ago. And I was so shocked right out front. And I think I've said this many times on this show and the other show, pink version for girls, blue version for boys. It was Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse Ouija boards right up in front of her, right up, like a big display right out front for kids to go by and get their parents to buy them that.
My mom is, speaking of, we might as well tell some funny stories for people being out there for a minute. So me and my mom were out. This is a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if did I tell you? I think I told you. We got out of the car. We got out of a restaurant, and this gentleman stopped me and said, "Can I talk to you about, can I talk to you about Jesus?"
And I send Del to those people at the door because he's never rude. But I
wasn't rude. He asked me, he said, "Can I talk to you about Jesus?" And I said, "Sure. What would you like to know?" And he stopped. He just looked at me. He wasn't prepared for that.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Well, no, it's something I could share with you." And I said, "You can share with me, but I died in 2015. I kind of know all these people firsthand. So what would you like to know?" And he just stopped and he turned around and walked away. I was like, there you go. I mean, I was not being rude. But I was like, don't talk to me about stuff like that. I know where I'm going. I know where I've been. So
that's what Del does. Because his mother is very religious. Plus he has relatives in a lot of different religions. So he's been baptized 3 times in the Roman Catholic Church, the Greek Orthodox and Ukrainian Orthodox? I don't know. Anyways, he knows the Bible much better. If you saw Del, you would never think Del knew the Bible. You've met him, Dave. He's got hair down to his butt. Everybody thinks he's a biker or something. He's not. He knows the Bible much better than me, being Roman Catholic at one time and forced to go to Catholic school and the whole bit. So I usually send him out there. And like I said, he's never rude, but people usually end up leaving, kind of like what you just said, with the conversation he has with them. Oh, I didn't know that, Jackie. Jackie says that Disney markets tarot cards too. Now,
my goodness gracious.
I didn't know that. So, mind you, I have a copy, not the deck, but I could make my own. I have the file for the Peanuts tarot deck. It's super cute. And also Hello Kitty, because I love Kuromi. Where's my Kuromi?
I said that one day when in another office, I want a big, huge rug that is a Ouija board, and I want my coffee table and to look like a planchette. And I think that would just be so cool. And then like that bubble in the middle. Yeah.
Well, so Contessa says they sell them at Toys R Us. Now, the interesting thing about Toys R Us, because I have been hooked on this new toy that's out, and it's called Miniverse Make It Minis. And what it is I couldn't believe they were selling this to kids, because I do resin, and it comes in a little ball, and there's a whole thing. It tells you how to get exactly what you want, and you can get food, or you can get little teeny tiny turtles and fish and make a whole aquarium, but it's with resin. And it never came with any safety warnings about resin or anything. And they pulled them off the market. But my whole point so that's why I've been at Toys R Us. But I've noticed Toys R Us is starting to really navigate towards an older genre. Like I know at ours, they have now a whole section on vinyl for records and really adult type t-shirts and stuff. That's just been in the last year. So I'm not surprised if they sold them at Toys R Us. I've not seen a Ouija board though but I'm in Canada, so I don't know. Not that Canada doesn't sell them. I'm just saying I haven't seen it at our Toys R Us.
Yeah, we don't have a Toys R Us where I am. So the Toys R Us were torn down years ago.
Hey, you guys, that was so weird. You guys lost a lot of them in the States, and then they came over to Canada.
Yeah, the last Toys R Us, I think, was not in Gaston County where my parents lived. There was one there probably I think it went away about maybe 10 years ago.
Ooh.
Probably about 10 years ago.
I like having it here. Okay, so this is interesting. This video here. What time is it? We got probably time for one more video. So give me that's till I hate the commercials on YouTube, but it is what it is. Oh, this was weird. Actually, I'd love to show this one. It was another one I was going to show. Well, I won't say anything. I'll show it, and you all tell me what you think. But holy cow, this freaked me out. Now, I have seen this before. Share screen.
And listen, and to all you people listening right now, just remember this. Lorilei posts all these videos in our group, the Spirit Experience, on Facebook. So if you want to see these videos, they'll be in there.
Okay. I was going to show I haven't shown the latest Nuke's Top 5, but he's actually had some better compilations. This is on Bizarre Bub on YouTube. Kathy says there are no Toys R Us in the US.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Oh, geez, I got to read this. Because, we dressed up as Kiss. Because my brother and one of my cousins are 1 month apart. Anyways, my other cousin, she was too young to go with us. At Halloween, we dressed up as Kiss. Back in the day, that was so perfect. We looked like we were part of Kiss. I'm not kidding. We spent months on the costume. We had another cousin where our aunt was very, very religious, and she wouldn't let we were actually mean to him. Now I think of it, we were teasing him because he couldn't listen to Kiss. Because Kathy Deck says, the neighbor also told me that the band Kiss stood for Knights in Satan's Service. Not the first time I've heard that before. And freaked when she saw my shirt, said each one represented a demon in hell. I'm sure I was whispered about a lot by the neighbors. Right.
Which demon looked like the kitty cat?
Oh, that was Peter Cress.
I know. That's what I mean. That's like a demon kitty cat. Woo.
You date Diane. What one did you date from Kiss? She says she dated a guy from Kiss. Kiss is still kicking. They're still kicking.
Still kicking. I mean, they are kicking.
Still kicking.
That's because they're still kicking because they made that deal with the devil. Oh God!
Okay.
Red.
Again, okay. I didn't purposely look for these videos in Spanish, but there's not a lot said. But I believe this is where it took place, somewhere in South America.
We'll describe it to you guys listening. Okay.
Oh, you dated Ace Frehley? Oh, you're going to tell us more about that on the next show. Hang on. Okay, so this guy's gone to the gym, and
the following footage shows someone who's by himself inside a gym when something terrifying happens. Emily Ruiz, who suggested the video, writes, "Words cannot explain this disturbing footage. The person in the video had obtained this recording from the gym and sent it to a friend who we hear speaking in the video. This is what was captured."
Es que pasaron cosas muy extrañas, la madre, hasta una máquina se movió. Vea, mire, explíqueme eso, vea, dos cuerdas y ¿qué vas a ver, mami? La otra quieta, o sea, no podemos decir que es el aire, ni que hay ventilación, ni nada de esas vainas. Eso es como y en plena luz del día, ¿quién dice que estas maricadas pasan en plena luz del día?
I'm going to mute this and read it because, okay, so what this guy was saying, just so people know, listen to the Spanish if you're listening, or unless you speak it, is this guy's alone in a gym and some things start moving. So there's people reviewing the video, speaking in Spanish, and they're saying, well, this couldn't have moved, even though the window's open. That's basically what they were saying, because it's not in English till we get to Bizarre Bub. So
they were hanging like ropes or something, yeah.
Okay, so something about the light. I'm just going to read the subtitles. Look, so they're saying, look. Watch the medicine ball. That's a heavy medicine ball, like really heavy. It says, how did it move? Those are really heavy. It's still moving. Watch the guy, though. What happened? Okay, now I got to put the sound back on. And they're going, no, that's not normal, because Bizarre Bub's going to start talking.
Those who've seen the footage were left unsettled by this terrifying encounter. At the start of the video, we can see that someone or something is peeking at this person. This is something you might have missed. Now, it's worth mentioning that another camera had recorded this from a different angle. By looking at this specific footage, we can see that the facility has open windows. It could be that the wind from outside the room was causing the ropes to move on their own. But if that were the case, then other things in the room should have moved as well, especially the towel on the box, which appears light enough to move just a bit, but it doesn't. The wind could also explain the ball's movement, but mind you, this is a medicine ball. It would take more than just a gust of wind to be able to move something this heavy. But what's even more baffling about this footage is how the person gets dragged across the floor. It could be that he was doing this on his own, moving his body in such a way to make it seem as though he were being dragged. However, a closer look at this scene shows that he was jerked in a forceful manner, which is almost impossible to do on one's own. Other things in the video remain questionable, such as lights turning off on their own, or whatever this is. I'll leave it to you to come up with your own conclusion on this footage. Feel free to let me know what you think.
What'd you think?
I don't believe it.
I thought it was pretty weird.
But I thought it was really good though. I did. I mean, you know what?
I don't know how the guy could have. I don't know. I do know that there have been people that have been pulled by spirits. It doesn't happen very often.
I know that, and I do agree that can happen. But there's literally like 50 videos of people getting pulled by spirits in all different ones. But there is a guy on TikTok. His name is Mitch. I know they debunked one. Literally, they got so good with putting in. They actually showed how they do this. And that's why sometimes when I watch these, I'm like, I got to be super skeptical of it because I know how they
so next week, I'm going to let you pick all the scary videos. Then.
No, because it's still a scary video. I just don't buy it.
Well, I want you to find something and share it with people because we know
I can't. There's very few that I've saw on YouTube. Well, actually, no, that's not true. You know what? I'm glad you asked. There's a couple but they're usually with cryptids. I'm going to try to find it, you guys. If you guys like cryptids, I found. I was looking at this one, and somebody came up with that gorilla bear thing, and they said, "You know what's this?" And I was looking at it, and I'm like, "Wait." I started Googling and started going deeper into the Google. And as you go deeper into the Google, you got to go way back, but it's totally fake.
Well, for example, when I looked at today from Slapped Ham, this is the clearest video we've ever seen of a chupacabra. And I went,
oh, no.
Are you kidding me? There was no way it was a chupacabra. There was no way I was putting that up there. It was a skinny dog. And he's going, well, that's the typical chupacabra.
Oh, that's sad. I know.
And look at it. It's going in circles. Dogs do that to find a comfy spot before they sit down.
The only thing about the YouTube videos, like I like those ones where they say it and they don't put in their 2 cents worth. So I do like when they say you decide. But the funny thing is, in all honesty, can any of us, based on 30 seconds, say it's real or not real? So
yeah, but if you take it for face value, and
if I took it for face value, I don't believe it.
Okay,
but because there's a few things in there, just like what they were like, he was even pointing out. I was looking at it during the video that I had. I'm glad you played it twice because I missed the whole pulling across the floor thing because I was looking at other things first. And then I went back. I'm like, oh, okay, I got you. But there are some, like the medicine ball one is the one that gets me because I have a medicine ball and wind cannot blow the medicine ball.
Yeah, so, but you know what I'm going to give you this, Dave? Remember that guy that was on TikTok? I think when we first started, and it was a whole storyline. People are still using clips from his stuff. And he was that good of a film editor. His little niece was being haunted by this little spirit girl. And there's one where she's sitting there, and it's explained at 3 a.m. And she's sitting there rocking in her sleep in front of it looks like an open TV cabinet. And hands are coming out and there's giggling. You can't see a cut in that video. And he runs calling her name, and you see him look in the cabinet and there's nothing there. That looked really real. He's finally come out and said, no, it was all fake. Basically, hire me. I'm a video editor. Look at how good I am.
Yeah, that's okay. And that's what I said. It's hard to tell nowadays. That's why I don't say it at face value. Some guy tried to post on TikTok. We got actual footage, and he says this is like from the other day of an actual
3 minutes left. Sorry.
Oh, of an actual Sasquatch looking straight up in the camera. He's like, look at his menacing face. And I looked at him like, that looks familiar. And I go to the comment section. No, it was a bonobo, that kind of chimp. And it was really old. It was on TV. That film is like 20 years old, and he's trying to pass it off as happened yesterday. I was like, dude, stop. Just stop. Stuff like that angers me because they took something like, a lot of people don't know about Bigfoot. How do we know Bigfoot's mean? Quit saying he's mean before you know. And then
we gotta leave, Dave. We gotta go.
Yes, anybody, if you want to get a hold of me, you can look me up at theywhispertome.com is my website. Follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Medium David Hanzel, The Spirit Experience on Facebook, and The Thing at the Foot of the Bed on Facebook with Lorilei and David Hanzel. Go take it away, Lorilei.
Thank you. Happy July the 4th to everybody celebrating. Keep your pets inside, please, everybody, if you can. So many pets are lost this time of year with fireworks. It's so sad and tragic, and it doesn't need to happen. It terrifies supervise your pets. So if you can keep them inside, please. Also, if you ever want to get a hold of me, you can get a hold of me right now at the facebook.com/the Angel Rock. I do fastest, quickest ways on social media, especially on Messenger. I am working on getting a domain name and all one-stop shopping. Be so much easier for everybody to book a session and stuff, because I do energy healing, teaching, mentoring, mediumship, healing, all that kind of stuff. I have 2 groups on Facebook: Paranormal University for all things paranormal, Angel Rocker Tribe, all things spiritual, and then Dave and I have our group. Don't forget to tune in Monday night. The Angel Rocker have a returning guest, Sonia Roy, and she's got a new book out on how to work through with the healing process with narcissism and how to recognize the whole bit. So that's 6 p.m.
It's in high demand.
Don't forget, you guys, if you're enjoying what you're seeing, second night coming up with Michelle DeRoche and Amelia Pisano with The Outer Realm right after this, everybody. So sending you big hugs, lots of love. We'll see you next week. Should we say stay spooky, Dave?
Yes, you guys, everybody stay spooky, and we'll try to say our thing at the end like we always do. 1, 2, 3. What's at the foot of your bed?
I think we did.
We try it. One of these
we have to look back. We love you guys. We'll see you next week. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Have a good one. Stay safe, everyone. Have a great weekend.